A poor cleaning lady blew bubbles to calm a boy having a meltdown, unaware that the Millionaire CEO was watching. And what he did surprised the entire company. Before we get into the story, leave a comment telling us where you're watching from. And at the end, don't forget to rate this story from 0 to 10. Enjoy. Lily Carter froze in the hallway, still holding her cleaning bucket. Just a few feet away, she saw a boy sitting on the floor, hugging his knees, rocking back and forth. His eyes were wide, like he was seeing something no one else could. People backed away. No one said a word to him. "He's having another episode," a woman whispered on the phone. "Is the nanny here yet?" A manager murmured. "Don't get too close," a tense security guard warned. Right at that moment, Nathaniel Blake saw the scene on the security cameras. It was his son, in the lobby, having a meltdown, alone. He dropped everything, rushed out of his office, ignored his assistant calling his name, hit the elevator button 3 times. When it didn't come, he ran down the stairs, his heart pounding. But Lily didn't hesitate. She sat down on the floor near the boy. She didn't touch him. She didn't speak. She simply unzipped her apron pocket and pulled out a small, almost empty bottle of dish soap. She added a bit of water and blew a bubble. Then another, and another. The boy stopped rocking. His breathing slowed. His panicked eyes followed a gentle, silent bubble drifting through the air. That was when Nathaniel, exhausted and out of breath, reached the lobby and stopped in his tracks. Right there in the center of the hall, his son was calm, sitting on the floor, quietly watching soap bubbles dance in the air. And in front of him, a woman he'd never seen before, wearing cleaning clothes, hair pinned up with a pen, blew another bubble with quiet focus. No one moved. No one spoke. Owen, his son, wasn't crying or screaming. He was just watching. Nathaniel blinked, stunned. He knew the signs of a full-blown meltdown, and he also knew how rare it was for one to stop without professional help. "Mr. Blake," a security guard whispered when he noticed him. Nathaniel raised a hand for silence. Lily, unaware of what was happening around her, stayed seated, blowing small bubbles, one at a time, as if each one had a purpose. Owen looked at her. His shoulders dropped. He reached out to touch a bubble. When it popped gently against his finger, he let out a tiny, almost silent laugh. Lily smiled too, only then realizing someone was behind her. She turned slowly and froze when she saw the company's CEO standing there, tall, serious, dressed in a perfect dark suit. Intense eyes. Nathaniel stood just a few steps away, watching her with an unreadable expression. "I'm sorry," Lily said quickly, getting to her feet. "I thought he needed help. No one was doing anything and I didn't touch him. I just blew bubbles." Nathaniel looked at his son, then back at her. "He usually takes hours to calm down," he said quietly. "You did it in 2 minutes." "He calmed himself," Lily replied, adjusting her apron. "I just stayed nearby. Sometimes that's all it takes." Owen now looked at them both, curious. His eyes were still wet, but he seemed fully present. Nathaniel stepped closer, knelt down gently, and asked his son, "Are you okay now?" Owen nodded. "It was her," he whispered. "The bubble lady." Lily smiled. "Yep, that's my superpower. Bubbles and plungers. Works every time." Nathaniel stood slowly, eyes still on her. "You work here?" "As a cleaner, yes. Outsourced, morning shift. 3 months in, lots of coffee, no raise," she said, trying to hide her nerves with a bit of humor. "What's your name?" "Lily Carter." Nathaniel held out his hand. "Nathaniel Blake." "Yeah, I figured. Your face is on the walls, the security badges, the website, the elevators, pretty much everywhere but the toilet paper." He almost smiled. "I'd like to speak with you, Miss Carter. Would you come with me to my office?" Her eyes widened. "Look, I swear I didn't teach your kid magic or give him candy. It was just soap." Nathaniel gave a subtle nod to the security guard. Owen, seeing Lily walk away, reached out his hand and said, "Come back." She crouched down. "If you want more bubbles, I'll bring a lemon-scented one tomorrow, but only if you promise to smile more than once." The boy smiled. Nathaniel watched quietly. Once they were in the elevator, Lily took a deep breath. "Just curious, am I getting fired?" "I haven't decided yet," Nathaniel replied as the doors closed. The elevator rose in complete silence. Lily watched the numbers blink. With every floor that passed, her anxiety grew. She had never gone higher than the 3rd floor, where the bathrooms she cleaned every morning were located. "Breathe, Lily," she muttered to herself, adjusting the strand of hair that had escaped her makeshift ponytail. When the doors opened on the 25th floor, she almost choked. Nathaniel Blake's office took up the entire floor. Floor-to-ceiling windows showed Chicago stretching all the way to the horizon. Dark wood furniture, expensive abstract paintings, and a silence that probably cost more than her yearly salary. "Please have a seat," Nathaniel said, pointing to one of the leather armchairs in front of his desk. Lily perched on the edge of the chair, as if ready to bolt at any moment. Her sweaty hands squeezed the cleaning rag she'd forgotten in her pocket. "Mr. Blake, I can explain. I know I shouldn't have gotten involved, but the boy was—" "Miss Carter," he interrupted, sitting down behind the desk. "Do you have children?" The question caught her off guard. "No, sir, I'm single. No kids, no boyfriend, no plans that last more than 2 weeks." Nathaniel almost smiled at her blunt honesty. "Owen, my son, is 7. He lost his mother 2 years ago in a car accident. Since then, he's had episodes of emotional instability, anxiety attacks, panic attacks. We've gone through 5 therapists, 3 specialized nannies, and 2 doctors. Nothing has worked like what you did today." Lily blinked, processing his words. "Sir, I just blew bubbles. It wasn't anything scientific." "Exactly," Nathaniel said, getting up and walking to the window. "The experts try to analyze, diagnose, medicate. You simply showed up." Lily shifted in the chair, uncomfortable. "Look, I'm sorry for your loss. It must be terrible for a child. But if you're thinking of promoting me to nanny, I'm not talking about a promotion," Nathaniel interrupted, turning to face her. "I'm talking about a different proposal." "What kind of proposal?" Nathaniel took a deep breath, like he was about to jump off a cliff. "I want you to spend a few hours a week with Owen. Not as a nanny, not as a therapist, just as you, the person who managed to calm him with soap bubbles." Lily laughed, a genuine laugh that echoed through the quiet office. "You're joking, right? You want me, a janitor who can barely take care of herself, to take care of your son? Not take care of him, just be with him." "Mr. Blake, with all due respect, that's the craziest idea I've ever heard. You don't even know me. I could be a terrible person. I could teach him bad words, let him eat candy for breakfast, or watch horror movies. Would you do that?" "Of course not. But you don't know that." Nathaniel stepped closer to the desk, resting his hands on the polished mahogany surface. "Miss Carter, I saw the way you looked at my son. There was no pity, no fear, no impatience. There was kindness. And for the first time in 2 years, I saw Owen smile. Really smile." Lily felt her chest tighten. She stood up from the chair and walked to the window. "You don't get it? I clean bathrooms at 5 in the morning. I live in a 1-bedroom apartment with 2 cockroaches I named Tom and Jerry. My idea of a fancy dinner is instant noodles with an egg. I have nothing in common with you." "Maybe that's exactly what Owen needs," Nathaniel murmured. Before Lily could answer, the office door burst open. Owen ran in, followed by a woman in a blue suit who looked frantic. "I'm sorry, Mr. Blake. He slipped away when I opened the car door," the woman said, clearly a nanny or assistant. Owen ignored everyone and ran straight to Lily. "Bubble lady, you came back." Lily knelt down automatically, meeting the boy's eyes. "Hey, champ, how are you?" "Better. Sarah said you were leaving forever. Is that true?" Lily glanced at Nathaniel over Owen's head. The CEO watched the exchange with an intense expression. "Well, your dad and I were just talking about that." "Dad," Owen turned to Nathaniel, eyes shining. "Can she stay, please? She makes bubbles and doesn't yell when I get sad." The silence that followed was heavy with emotion. Lily felt something stir in her chest, a feeling she hadn't had in a long time. "Owen," Nathaniel said softly, "Miss Lily has her job, and we can't." "I can come on Wednesdays and Saturdays," Lily interrupted, surprising herself. 2 hours each day. "But I have conditions." Nathaniel raised his eyebrows. "Conditions? First, no nannies watching me or giving me instructions. If you don't trust me, it's better not to start." "I agree," Nathaniel said right away. "Second condition, no cameras or recordings. Owen needs to feel free to be a kid, not part of some experiment." Nathaniel hesitated for a moment, then nodded. "Third, I'm not a therapist, psychologist, or expert. I'm just a regular person. If you're expecting miracles, you're going to be disappointed." "And the fourth condition?" Nathaniel asked. Lily smiled, looking at Owen. "If he doesn't want me around anymore, I'll leave. No drama, no explanations. It's always his decision." "I want you," Owen said right away. "I really do." Nathaniel walked over and held out his hand to Lily. Then we have a deal, Miss Carter. Lily shook his hand, feeling how firm his grip was and the honesty in his eyes. Just call me Lily. And for the record, I still think you're all a little crazy. Owen laughed and clapped his hands. Dad, she said she's just as crazy as we are. Nathaniel smiled, a real smile that completely changed his face. No, Owen, she said we're the crazy ones. She's the sensible one here. Oh, I don't know about that, Lily said, taking Owen's hand. A sensible person wouldn't agree to take care of a kid she just met. I think we've officially entered the realm of shared madness. And for the first time in a long while, the CEO office of Blake Tech was filled with the sound of laughter. The next day, Lily stopped in front of the most impressive residential building she had ever seen. 40 floors of glass and steel stretched up like a crystal tower in the heart of Chicago. The doorman, dressed in a uniform that probably cost more than her entire wardrobe, looked at her with suspicion. Good afternoon. I'm here to see Owen Blake, she said, trying to sound confident. Full name and ID, please. Lily Carter. And here's my ID, she replied, handing over a document that was a little worn. The doorman typed something into a sleek tablet, frowning. You're not on the guest list. Look, I know I look suspicious wearing a Monday outfit on a Wednesday, but Mr. Blake hired me to spend time with Owen. Kind of like a babysitter, but not exactly. One moment. After a few minutes of whispered phone calls and doubtful glances, Lily was finally allowed in. The private elevator to the top floor had golden buttons and mirrors everywhere. She saw her reflection repeating endlessly inside. I definitely don't belong here, she muttered to herself. When the doors opened straight into the penthouse, Lily froze. The apartment was bigger than the whole building she lived in. High ceilings, a minimalist decor in shades of gray and white, and artwork that probably cost more than she could earn in 10 lifetimes. Wow, this place is like a museum, she said out loud without realizing it. You must be Lily. She turned to see an elegant, middle-aged woman with her hair in a perfect bun and a serious expression. I'm Margaret, the housekeeper. Mr. Blake had to step out for an emergency meeting, but Owen is in his room. Okay, and where's his room in this small city? Margaret pointed down a hallway that seemed to go on forever. Third door on the left. Be careful with the vacuum robot. It's motion sensitive. Lily walked down the hallway, admiring the paintings on the walls. Suddenly, a small round thing came out from behind a plant, making mechanical noises. She jumped back, stumbling over her own feet. What is that thing? She nearly yelled. The little robot stopped, made a few beeping sounds, and resumed its quiet cleaning. That's just Max, the vacuum robot, Owen said, appearing at his bedroom door with a shy smile. He doesn't bite. Hey, champ. Wow, you scared me. I thought it was some kind of alien or something, Lily said, still catching her breath. Owen laughed, a soft sound that echoed down the empty hallway. Want to see my room? Sure. Owen's room was the size of Lily's entire apartment. A race car-shaped bed, shelves full of color-coded books, and toys neatly arranged like a showroom. Everything was perfect. Everything was cold. Wow, Owen, your room is amazing. But where's the mess? Dirty socks on the floor? Toys everywhere? Margaret always puts everything back, he said with a shrug. I see. And do you like it that way? Owen paused, glancing around. Sometimes I wish it felt more like a real room. Lily sat on the bed and patted the spot next to her. Come here, let's talk about that. But first, she pulled a small bubble bottle out of her pocket. A promise is a promise, lemon-scented bubbles. Owen's eyes lit up. He sat beside her and together they started blowing bubbles. Some small, some large and lazy, floating around the room. You know what's missing here? Lily asked. What? Music. Every room needs a soundtrack. She took out her phone and played a soft, gentle song. For the first time since she'd arrived, Owen let his shoulders relax. Now that's better, Lily said. How about we do something different? Like what? Let's have a picnic, right here, on the floor. But we don't have any food. Who says a picnic needs real food? Lily stood up and started pulling pillows off the bed, spreading them out on the rug. Make-believe picnics are way better. You get to choose whatever you want to eat. Owen joined in, sitting on the floor. I want chocolate pizza with French fry ice cream. Ew, that's disgustingly delicious, Lily laughed. I want a cloud sandwich with rainbow juice. They spent the next few minutes eating the most ridiculous things they could imagine, laughing at the crazy combos. Owen talked about school, about classmates who didn't understand why he sometimes felt sad for no reason. Lily listened closely, asking simple questions and offering hugs when he needed them. From the hallway, hidden behind a slightly open door, Nathaniel watched. He'd come back early from a meeting and found his son genuinely happy for the first time in months. A slow smile spread across his face as he listened to the laughter coming from the room. What a touching scene. The cold voice behind him made him turn around. Diana Worthington, Owen's godmother and one of the most influential socialites in Chicago, stood in the hallway, her expression full of disdain. "Diana, I didn't know you were coming today. Clearly, otherwise, you wouldn't have left that woman alone with Owen." Nathaniel's jaw tightened. "Lily is here because I asked her to be." "Nathaniel, dear, I know you're going through a rough time, but hiring a cleaning lady to care for Owen? That's madness. She's not a cleaning lady hired to take care of him. She's—" "What? Your new girlfriend?" Diana gave a harsh, unpleasant laugh. "Please, Nathaniel, this woman is obviously after your money. It's the oldest trick in the book." Owen's laugh echoed down the hallway right then, clear and real. Nathaniel and Diana turned toward the bedroom door. "Listen to that," Nathaniel said quietly. "When was the last time you heard Owen laugh like that?" "That's not the point. The point is that you're being manipulated by some gold digger who—" "Diana?" Nathaniel's voice was dangerously calm. "I suggest you leave. Now." "Nathaniel Blake, you've completely lost your mind. Victoria must be rolling in her grave, seeing what you're doing with her son." The mention of his late wife hit him like a punch. Nathaniel clenched his fists, fighting the anger rising inside him. "Get out of my house, now." Diana stared at him for a moment, then turned sharply and walked toward the elevator. "This won't end well, Nathaniel. And when it doesn't, don't say I didn't warn you." When the elevator doors closed, Nathaniel took a deep breath and looked back toward the bedroom. Lily and Owen were now making Play-Doh from something she'd pulled out of her bag, chatting happily about shapes and colors. For the first time in 2 years, the house felt like a home. And for the first time since Victoria's death, Nathaniel felt that maybe, just maybe, they were going to be okay. A week after the scene with Diana, Nathaniel found himself typing and erasing the same message for the 5th time. It was Friday afternoon, and he was in his office, trying to write a dinner invitation that didn't sound too formal or too casual. "I'd like to invite you to dinner as a thank you for your work with Owen." He deleted it. Too businesslike. "How about dinner tomorrow?" Too forward. Could be taken the wrong way. "Owen and I would like to invite you to dinner." Not true. Owen didn't even know about the invite. Finally, he went with something simple. "Lily, I'd like to invite you to dinner tomorrow at 8 p.m. as a thank you. Nathaniel." He hit send before he could change his mind again. The reply came 15 minutes later. "Seriously? Like real dinner? With forks and knives and everything?" "Okay, but if there are more than 3 utensils, I'm leaving." "Lily." Nathaniel laughed to himself in the empty office. She was definitely not like any woman he'd ever met. Lily had been standing in front of the bathroom mirror for 2 hours, trying to decide if she looked ridiculous or just out of place. The black dress she'd rented from a second-hand shop looked fine, but she felt like a kid playing dress-up in grown-up clothes. "Breathe, Lily. It's just dinner. Dinner with a man who probably eats caviar for breakfast, sure. But still, just dinner," she muttered to her reflection. She arrived at the building right at 8 p.m., after circling the block 3 times to gather her courage. The doorman, the same as before, greeted her with a slightly warmer smile. "Good evening, Miss Carter. Mr. Blake is expecting you." When the elevator doors opened at the penthouse, Lily found Nathaniel waiting for her. He had traded his formal suit for a dark blue dress shirt and casual slacks. Still, he managed to look effortlessly elegant in a way she knew she never could. "Good evening, Lily. You look beautiful." "Thank you. You also look not terrible," she replied, instantly regretting it. "Sorry. When I'm nervous, I say weird things. And I'm very nervous because I've never had dinner in a penthouse bigger than the neighborhood I grew up in." Nathaniel smiled, and she noticed her shoulders relax a little. "Owen's asleep?" "Yes, but he insisted on picking the wine." Lily's eyes widened. "Owen picked wine?" Grape juice. He said it's kid wine and goes with anything. That boy's a genius. Nathaniel led her to the dining room, where a table for two was set with understated elegance. Candles, flowers, crystal gleaming under the soft light. Romantic in a way that made Lily feel completely out of place. Nathaniel, this is beautiful, but you didn't have to. I'm just the person who blows bubbles with your son. You didn't need all this. Ritual? He finished for her, pulling out her chair. Yes, exactly. Ritual. They sat, and a slightly awkward silence hung in the air until Lily decided to break it the only way she knew how. So, this table has more silverware than a hospital. What's this tiny spoon for? Doll food? Nathaniel laughed. It's for dessert. Oh, makes sense. And this little fork? Salad. Of course, and here I was thinking it was in case the food tried to escape. The arrival of the first course saved Nathaniel from answering. It was something sophisticated and artistically arranged that Lily couldn't identify. What is this? She asked, poking it gently with her fork. Salmon tartare with wasabi emulsion and microgreens. Lily stared at him for a moment. Okay, I'm going to pretend I understood that and eat it anyway. She took a small bite and made an involuntary face. Is it bad? Nathaniel asked, worried. No, not bad. It's just that it tastes like raw fish with mint toothpaste. Nathaniel nearly choked on his wine. Lily, you don't have to eat it if you don't like it. No. Sorry, I have zero filter. It's just that my taste is more basic. Pizza, burgers, pasta, things that don't need an instruction manual. Note to self, next dinner, pizza. Next dinner? Lily raised an eyebrow. Confident, aren't you? Hopeful, he corrected, and something in his tone made Lily's heart skip. As the night went on, the conversation began to flow more naturally. Lily shared stories about her childhood in Detroit, about coming to Chicago, chasing opportunities that never arrived, and her dream of one day opening a daycare for children from working families. Why kids? Nathaniel asked. Because they're honest. If a kid doesn't like you, they'll say it to your face. If they do, they give you a hug that fixes any bad day. Adults are complicated. Kids are pure. Even the ones with emotional struggles? Especially those. They're just trying to process a world that's too big, too loud, too scary. They just need someone who understands they can't always be strong. Nathaniel watched her in silence for a moment. You talk like someone who's been there. Lily toyed with her napkin, avoiding his eyes. Everyone's felt too small for the world at some point. The difference is adults get better at hiding it. And you, can you hide it? Clearly not, she laughed. Here I am, in a $1 million penthouse, wearing a rented dress, talking about salmon that tastes like toothpaste. If that's not showing all my flaws at once, I don't know what is. Maybe that's exactly what makes you so refreshing. Refreshing is a fancy word for clumsy, isn't it? No, refreshing is a word for someone who isn't afraid to be real. The moment was interrupted by the arrival of the main course, but the air between them had shifted. It wasn't awkward anymore. It felt closer to anticipation. Can I ask you something? Lily said, cutting into what looked like the most expensive steak in history. Of course. Why did you really invite me? And don't give me the thank you line. You could have sent an overpriced fruit basket or a golden card. Why dinner? Nathaniel paused, fork in midair. Honest answer? Always. Because for the past 2 weeks, Owen wakes up smiling on Thursdays, knowing you were here on Wednesday. Because he talks about you during breakfast and asks if he can call you when he has nightmares. And because, he paused, because it's been a long time since I met someone who makes me laugh without trying to impress me. Lily felt her face grow warm. Nathaniel. Dad. They both turned, surprised. Owen was standing at the entrance of the dining room, wearing the floral apron Lily had forgotten in the kitchen the week before. It hung huge on him, dragging on the floor, but he wore it proudly. Owen, you're supposed to be in bed, Nathaniel said, getting up. I was, but I woke up and saw the lights, and I smelled something good. Owen looked at Lily. Hi, Lily. Do you like my apron? It looks great on you, champ, but that's a cooking apron. Are you planning to make something? Yes. Owen clapped his hands, excited. I want to cook with you. You promised to teach me how to make cookies that don't burn. Lily looked at Nathaniel, who seemed torn between amusement and frustration. Owen, Lily and I are having dinner. Maybe tomorrow. But Dad, she's here now, and I can't sleep because I keep thinking about the cookies. Please? Owen, Nathaniel's voice carried a warning tone. It's okay, Lily cut in, standing up. How about this? We finish dinner quickly, and then we make cookies. Just a simple recipe, something we can make with whatever's already in the kitchen. Really? Owen's eyes lit up. Nathaniel ran a hand through his hair, clearly frustrated by the interruption but unable to say no to something that made his son so happy. All right, but first, go back to your room, brush your teeth, and put on your pajamas. And after we make the cookies, straight to bed. No arguments. Promise. Owen ran off, the apron trailing behind him like a superhero cape. When they were alone again, Nathaniel sank into his seat. Sorry, he was just too excited to sleep in. Nathaniel, it's fine. Actually, it's kind of sweet. Sweet? He just interrupted our dinner to ask for cookies. So what? Lily smiled. Dinner was great, but making cookies with Owen at 10 o'clock on a Friday night? That's the kind of memory that lasts. Nathaniel looked at her like she was a puzzle he couldn't quite figure out. You really don't mind? Nathaniel, I spent the last 2 years cleaning office bathrooms at 5 in the morning. Making cookies with an excited kid in a beautiful apartment? That's like winning the lottery. Then he smiled, a slow, genuine smile that completely changed his face. You're something else, Lily Carter. No, I just have different priorities. Owen came back in, now in pajamas, but still wearing the apron. I'm ready. Let's make the best cookies in the world. And as the three of them walked toward the kitchen, Nathaniel realized that, for the first time in a very long time, his house was full of laughter, mess, and life. Just the way it should be. On Monday morning, Lily was having breakfast when her phone lit up with notifications. Message after message, call after call. She frowned and picked it up. The first message was from a coworker. Lily, did you see the news? You're on every site. Her heart pounding, she opened her browser and typed in her name. What she found made her choke on her coffee. Millionaire CEO caught having romantic dinner with cleaning lady. Modern Cinderella, employee wins over billionaire boss. Blake Tech in crisis, CEO involved with staff member. The photos were everywhere. Someone had snapped shots of her entering Nathaniel's building the previous Saturday. The pictures showed her in the rented dress, clearly nervous, with the doorman watching her. The most hurtful headline read, From mop bucket to the altar, a perfectly planned strategy? Lily's stomach turned. She quickly opened her social media and found a flood of nasty comments. She obviously planned this. Who believes in coincidence? Poor guy. Lost his wife and now being played by a gold digger. Someone tell him this isn't a Disney movie. In real life, Cinderella just wants the cash. Pathetic. A cleaning lady thinking she's good enough for a CEO. Each comment hit like a punch to the gut. Lily dropped her phone on the table and buried her face in her hands. Tears of humiliation and anger stung her eyes. The phone rang. It was Nathaniel. Lily, are you okay? I saw the news and... I'm fine, she lied, trying to steady her voice. Never better. I always dreamed of being a national joke. Lily, don't listen to those people. They don't know you. But they know you. They know how much you're worth. And they know I'm nobody. You're not nobody. You're... Nathaniel, stop, please. Lily took a deep breath. I think it's better if I stop coming by. Owen will be fine. He doesn't need me. Lily, don't do this. Owen does need you. We need you. No, you need someone who doesn't end up in the gossip columns. Someone who won't embarrass you. You've never embarrassed us. Nathaniel. Her voice broke. I have to go. Take good care of Owen. She hung up before he could say anything and immediately blocked the number. It was better this way. For everyone. The following Wednesday, Owen waited for 2 hours, sitting by his bedroom window, watching the street. Where's Lily? He asked for the 10th time. She can't come today, buddy, Nathaniel answered, trying to sound casual. But it's Wednesday. She always comes on Wednesdays. Sometimes people get busy. Owen didn't say anything, but Nathaniel noticed he barely touched his lunch. Or dinner. On Thursday, Owen woke up asking if Lily was coming on Saturday. When Nathaniel said he didn't know, the boy quietly went back to his room and shut the door. On Saturday, Owen refused to get out of bed. I'm sick, he muttered, pulling the blanket over his head. Where does it hurt? My chest, and my stomach, and my head. Nathaniel knew exactly what it was. He felt the same pain. The following Monday, Owen didn't want to go to school. On Tuesday, he broke down crying at the dinner table. On Wednesday, Nathaniel found him sitting on the bedroom floor, blowing bubbles alone, tears running down his face. "Owen, what's going on?" "Lily left me," the boy whispered, "just like Mommy did." The words hit Nathaniel like a knife to the heart. He knelt beside his son. "Lily didn't leave you. She's just going through a tough time." "Why does everyone I love leave?" Nathaniel had no answer. He just pulled Owen into a tight hug and made a decision. Something had to change. Thursday night, Nathaniel stood in front of a small, modest apartment building on the outskirts of Chicago. It had taken him 3 days to track down Lily's address, and now that he was there, he wasn't sure what to say. He climbed to the 3rd floor and knocked on the door of apartment 3B. Lily opened it and froze when she saw him. She was wearing an old college t-shirt and faded sweatpants. Her hair was down around her shoulders, and she wasn't wearing any makeup. Nathaniel thought she had never looked more beautiful. "Nathaniel, how did you find my address?" "I have my ways. Can I come in?" Lily hesitated, then stepped aside. The apartment was tiny but cozy. One room served as both living room and bedroom. The kitchen was no bigger than a closet. Plants filled the windowsills, and books were scattered on makeshift shelves. "It's small," she said defensively. "It's warm," he replied, looking around. The walls were covered in children's drawings, clearly done by kids from the building. "Do you teach art?" "Informally. For the neighborhood kids. It's nothing official." Nathaniel turned to face her. "Owen's not eating." Lily's chest tightened. "He'll be okay. Kids are resilient." "He had a meltdown yesterday, said everyone he loves leaves him." Lily's eyes filled with tears. "Nathaniel, you don't understand. I've become a joke. People who've never even met me are talking about my life, my character, my intentions. They say I'm a gold digger, that I'm using Owen to get to you." "And you care what strangers think?" "I care what that does to you too," she said, her voice rising. "Owen doesn't deserve a mother figure who's the punchline of a scandal. You don't deserve to have your name dragged through the mud because of me." "Lily," Nathaniel stepped closer, "do you really think I care more about my reputation than my son's happiness? You should care. You run a company. You have employees, responsibilities. And I have a son who hasn't smiled in a week, a son who asks every day where his Lily is, a son who believes everyone he loves eventually leaves him." Lily covered her face with her hands. "I didn't mean to hurt him. I thought it would be better this way." "Better for who? For the people spreading lies online, or for the 3 of us who were happy together?" "Nathaniel." "Lily, look at me." She lifted her eyes, meeting his intense gaze. "Owen needs you, and He paused. "I need you too. You need someone who doesn't bring drama. I need you, exactly as you are, with your honesty, your spark, and the way you make an ordinary Tuesday feel special." The tears finally spilled down Lily's cheeks. "And what if they don't stop? What if they keep talking, keep judging? Then let them talk. People who know me already know who I am, and the people who matter will meet you and see what I see." "What do you see?" Nathaniel smiled, wiping a tear from her cheek with his thumb. "I see the woman who made my son laugh again, who brought life back into my home, who reminded me what it feels like to feel something beyond responsibility and work." Lily glanced around her tiny apartment, then back at him. "Are you sure? Because once I come back, I'm not running away again, no matter what anyone says." "I'm sure." "And Owen? He's not mad at me? He drew a picture for you. It's been on his fridge for a week, waiting for you to come get it." Lily laughed through her tears. "Then I guess I'd better go pick up that drawing." The Friday after Lily returned, once Owen had finally fallen asleep after an afternoon of baking cookies and telling stories, Nathaniel and Lily found themselves alone on the penthouse balcony. The Chicago sky was full of stars, a rare sight in the city, and the quiet between them was comfortable. "Thank you," Nathaniel said, breaking the silence, "for coming back." Owen was different, distant, like part of him had disappeared. Lily leaned against the railing, staring at the city lights below. "I shouldn't have run. Not like that. Owen didn't deserve to pay for my fear." "Why were you so afraid?" Nathaniel asked softly. "Of opinions, of judgment. You always seemed so strong to me, so sure of yourself." Lily let out a laugh, but it had no humor in it. "Sure of myself? Nathaniel, I clean bathrooms for a living and live in an apartment the size of your closet. Confidence isn't exactly my specialty. But with Owen, you're different. Natural, like you just instinctively know what he needs." Lily stayed quiet for a long moment, her fingers playing with the sleeve of her coat. "I had a child," she said finally, so quietly Nathaniel almost didn't hear. He stepped closer, but said nothing, waiting. "Samuel. He was born premature. Spent 2 months in the NICU. I spent whole days there, singing to him, telling him stories, blowing bubbles on the window when it rained." Her voice trembled. "The doctor said premature babies need stimulation, connection. So I talked to him all the time, even when he couldn't hear me." Nathaniel's chest tightened, already knowing how the story would end. "He died at 3 months, Lily continued, tears streaming silently. "Sudden infant death syndrome. One morning I went to his crib and he was peaceful, like he'd just fallen asleep forever. Lily, his father blamed me, said I didn't take good enough care of him, that maybe if I'd done something differently." She wiped her tears with the back of her hand. "He left me a week after the funeral, said he couldn't look at me without seeing failure." Nathaniel stood beside her now, fighting the urge to pull her into his arms. "That's why you understand Owen so well," he said. "You know what it's like to lose someone you love." "I see Samuel in every child," she admitted. "In their vulnerability, in the way they need to be seen, to be understood. When I saw Owen having that meltdown in the lobby, it was like Samuel was there, needing me." "How old were you?" 22. "It's been 4 years, but it feels like yesterday, and a lifetime ago at the same time." Nathaniel finally reached for her hand, lacing his fingers with hers. "Victoria, Owen's mother, died in a car accident," he said. "She was coming back from a parent-teacher meeting. A drunk driver ran a red light and—" He paused, taking a deep breath. "Owen was in the back seat." Lily turned to him, eyes wide. "He saw everything?" "All of it. He was in a coma for 3 days. When he woke up, he didn't talk, didn't cry, didn't react to anything. The doctor said it was trauma, that he needed time, but it was over a year before he smiled again. That's why he has the anxiety attacks. They started when he went back to school. Any loud noise, any stressful situation, it's like he's back in that car." Lily squeezed his hand. "And you? How did you handle all of this?" "I didn't," Nathaniel said with raw honesty. "I buried myself in work. I hired the best nannies, the best therapists, the best doctors. I thought if I could control everything around him, he'd be okay. But you couldn't control his pain." "No, and it drove me crazy. Until you showed up and blew bubbles in my lobby." Suddenly, Owen was laughing again. He was present. "And I realized that maybe the solution wasn't controlling everything, but simply being there." They sat in silence, hands intertwined, each lost in their own painful memories and the strange comfort of sharing them with someone who understood. "Lily," Nathaniel said eventually, "Owen sees you as a mother figure. You know that, right?" "I know, and it scares me and warms my heart at the same time." "And he hesitated. "I've started to see you as more than just the person who takes care of my son." Before Lily could respond, Nathaniel's phone rang. He looked at the screen and frowned. "It's Richard, from the board. I have to take this." "Nathaniel," said Richard Mason, chairman of the Blake Tech board, his voice tense. "We need to talk. First thing tomorrow morning." "About what?" "About your personal choices and how they're affecting the company. The meeting's at 8 a.m., don't be late." The call ended abruptly. Nathaniel stared at the phone, his expression dark. "Trouble?" Lily asked. "Maybe. The board wants a meeting tomorrow. Probably about us." "Nathaniel, if this is going to cause problems for you." "No," he turned to her, determined. "We're not going through this again. I'm not going to let fear or outside pressure tear our family apart." "Our family?" Nathaniel realized what he'd said and gave her a soft, honest smile. "Yes, our family, because that's what we are, right? You, me, and Owen. A slightly crazy, unconventional family, but a family all the same." Lily's heart skipped a beat. "And what if the board disagrees?" "Then they'll have to live with it. Because I'm not giving up my happiness, or Owen's, just to please people who care more about appearances than real results." That night, as Lily returned to her apartment, she carried not just the shared pain of past losses, but also the hope that maybe, just maybe, she'd finally found where she belonged. And Nathaniel, staring out at the Chicago skyline, knew he was about to face the biggest battle of his career. But for the first time in years, he had something worth fighting for. Something more important than money, power, or status. He had a family. The next morning's board meeting was exactly the nightmare Nathaniel had expected. Richard Mason, seated at the head of the long mahogany table, wasted no time with pleasantries. "Nathaniel, let's get straight to the point. Your personal situation is damaging the company's image. Our investors are nervous, the media is making a circus of it, and frankly, we're questioning your judgment." The other 5 board members nodded silently, their expressions serious and disapproving. "My judgment?" Nathaniel kept his voice steady, though his fists were clenched beneath the table. "The company just had its best quarter ever. Our products are changing the landscape of assistive technology. In what way is my judgment in question?" "In the sense that you're romantically involved with an employee," said Margaret Winters, the only woman on the board. "And not just any employee, a member of the cleaning staff. That raises serious legal and ethical concerns." "Lily no longer works for the company. She resigned last week." "How convenient," Richard muttered. "Nathaniel, be reasonable. You have responsibilities. To the company, to the shareholders, and to your own reputation. This woman is not a suitable match for someone in your position." "Suitable according to who?" "According to reality," said Harold Peterson, the oldest member of the board. "You're the CEO of a multi-billion-dollar corporation. She cleaned bathrooms. That's not prejudice, that's common sense." Nathaniel stood slowly, anger simmering beneath the surface. "Let me make this clear. My personal life is not up for debate in this room. As long as I continue to deliver outstanding results for this company." "But what if you don't?" Richard interrupted. "What if this distraction starts affecting your performance?" "Nathaniel, we're offering a solution. End this relationship and everything goes back to normal." "And if I refuse?" The silence that followed said everything. "Then we'll have to consider other options," Richard finally said. "For the good of the company." 2 hours later, Nathaniel stood outside Lily's apartment, his heart heavy. She opened the door with a smile that vanished the moment she saw his face. "What happened at the meeting? Can I come in?" They sat on Lily's small couch, and Nathaniel told her everything. Every bitter word, every thinly veiled threat, every ultimatum disguised as advice. "So that's it," Lily said when he finished. "They want you to choose between me and your company." "Lily, Nathaniel, you don't even need to think about it. The answer's obvious." "It is?" "Of course it is," she said, getting up and walking to the window. "You built that company from the ground up. It's your legacy, your dream. You have hundreds of employees who count on you. You can't throw all that away because of this." "Because of this?" Nathaniel stood up too. "You're talking about our relationship like it's something disposable." "It's not disposable, but it's also not more important than everything you've worked for your whole life." "Lily, you don't understand. That company means nothing to me anymore if I don't have you and Owen to share the success with." "You'll still have Owen. Owen needs you. We both do." Lily turned to face him, tears in her eyes. "And I need you too, both of you, more than you can imagine. But sometimes loving someone means letting them go so they can be happy." "You think I'd be happy without you?" Before she could answer, loud knocking at the door interrupted them. Lily opened it and gasped when she saw Owen standing there out of breath and crying. "Owen, oh my God, how did you get here?" "I ran away," he said, throwing himself into her arms. "Margaret said Daddy was here and you were going to break up forever. I don't want that. I don't want to lose you too." Lily hugged him tightly, looking at Nathaniel in shock. "How did he get here by himself?" "Taxi," Owen sniffled. "I told the driver it was an emergency and gave him the address from Dad's desk." "Owen, you can't just leave the house like that." Nathaniel knelt beside them. "I was going out of my mind looking for you." "I'm sorry, Dad, but I heard Margaret on the phone. She said you were going to have to choose between the company and Lily, and I was scared you'd choose the company." Lily and Nathaniel exchanged a look over Owen's head. "And would you?" Owen asked, looking up at his father with wide, tearful eyes. Nathaniel sat down on the floor, pulling both Owen and Lily close. "Owen, can I tell you a secret?" The boy nodded. "I've already made my decision, and you two are more important than any company in the world." "Nathaniel?" Lily whispered. "No, let me finish," he said, looking into her eyes. "These last few months, you two reminded me of who I really am. Not just a CEO, a father, a man who wants to build something that actually matters. But your company, it'll still exist, but not like it does now. Nathaniel smiled, a new idea taking shape in his mind. Lily, remember when you told me about your dream to open a daycare? Yes, but what if we did something bigger? Much bigger? Owen looked back and forth between them, confused but hopeful. What are you talking about? I'm talking about turning half of Blake Tech into a foundation focused on emotional inclusion. Support centers for children with trauma, training programs for educators, assistive technology for special needs, Nathaniel said, growing more excited. And I want you to lead it. Lily's eyes widened. Nathaniel, you can't be serious. I've never been more serious. Lily, you have a gift. You see children in a way most professionals can't. You understand pain, loss, healing. You're exactly what those kids need. But the investors, the board, they can adjust or step aside. It's time for Blake Tech to stand for something more than just profit. Owen started clapping, excited. Lily's going to work with Dad. Does that mean you'll stay together forever? Lily looked at Nathaniel, seeing the conviction in his eyes and the honesty on his face. Are you sure? This will change everything. Your life, your company, your reputation. For the better, Nathaniel said, taking her hands. Lily Carter, will you be my partner? In life and in work? Aye. She looked at Owen, who was watching her with hope, then back at Nathaniel. Yes, I will. Owen squealed with joy, throwing his arms around them. And there, on the floor of that tiny apartment, the three of them knew they had found something more valuable than money or status. They had found a family. And a purpose worth any sacrifice. 3 weeks after the foundation announcement, everything seemed to be going perfectly. Lily had moved into a bigger apartment closer to Blake Tech and spent her days working side by side with Nathaniel developing the educational programs. Owen was thrilled to see his two favorite adults working together every day. The Little Hearts Foundation would launch officially the following Friday with a press conference and a special event for potential investors. Lily had worked tirelessly over the past few days, finalizing presentations and organizing all the necessary paperwork. On Thursday morning, she arrived at the office earlier than usual, anxious to review the final details. But when she tried to log into her computer, the password didn't work. Strange, she murmured, trying again. Miss Carter? Richard Mason's voice behind her made her turn. He was accompanied by 2 men she didn't recognize. Good morning, Mr. Mason. Is there a problem? I'm afraid there is, Richard said, his expression serious and just slightly satisfied. These are Detectives Morrison and Clark from the Corporate Fraud Division. Lily felt the blood drain from her face. Fraud? I don't understand. Miss Carter, Detective Morrison said, we need to ask you some questions about discrepancies we found in the Foundation's documentation. What kind of discrepancies? Altered documents, falsified certifications, inconsistent financial data, Richard said. All carrying your digital signature. That's impossible. I didn't falsify anything. Every document I prepared is authentic. Then how do you explain this? Richard showed her a folder stuffed with papers. Teaching certificates from a university that confirms you never studied there. References from previous jobs at companies that don't exist. Fabricated professional experience. Lily flipped through the documents with trembling hands. They were indeed her records, but completely distorted. Her technical course had been turned into a full degree. Her previous nanny jobs had been listed as management positions at fictional institutions. I didn't do this, she said, her voice higher than usual. Someone changed my documents. I've never lied about my background. Miss Carter, Detective Clark said, you're going to have to come with us to give a statement. Wait. Nathaniel appeared, rushing in, clearly alarmed. What's going on here? Nathaniel, Richard turned to him with a grave expression. We've uncovered serious irregularities in the Foundation's paperwork. It appears Miss Carter falsified her credentials to get the position. That's absurd, Nathaniel said, looking at Lily, who was pale as a sheet. Lily, what is this? I didn't do any of it, Nathaniel. Someone altered my records. I never lied to you about who I am or what I've done. Mr. Blake, Detective Morrison interrupted, were you aware of Miss Carter's true qualifications when you hired her? I knew her full background. She's always been honest about her education. Then how do you explain these documents with her digital signature? Nathaniel studied the papers, frowning. They really looked like Lily's work, but he knew she would never do such a thing. There's a mistake here, or someone is deliberately sabotaging this project. Richard cleared his throat. Nathaniel, I understand this is hard to accept, but the facts are clear. This fraudulent paperwork compromises the entire foundation. We'll have to suspend the launch immediately. You can't do that. We can, and we will, Richard said firmly. And until this is resolved, Miss Carter cannot remain on company premises. Lily looked around at the curious faces of employees who had gathered to watch. Whispers, judging eyes. It was like the media scandal all over again, only worse. Lily, Nathaniel said, stepping closer, don't worry, we'll fix this. I'll hire the best lawyers, private investigators. Nathaniel, Richard said, placing a hand on his arm, I strongly advise you to step away from this until it's resolved. Any involvement could be interpreted as obstruction of justice. You're telling me to abandon Lily? I'm telling you to protect the company and yourself. Lily met Nathaniel's eyes and saw the conflict in them. She knew he wanted to help her, but she also knew his presence would only make things worse for him. It's okay, she said softly. I'll go with the detectives. I'll clear this up. Lily, don't. Take care of Owen. Tell him, her voice faltered. Tell him I didn't do anything wrong, but I have to fix this. The detectives escorted her out of the building, through the lobby where it had all begun. Lily glanced at the spot where she had first met Owen and felt her heart shatter. That night, after hours of questioning and having her apartment turned upside down for evidence, Lily finally returned home. She was exhausted, humiliated, and desperate. Her phone rang nonstop, Nathaniel calling, but she didn't answer. How could she? Even if he believed her, staying in his life would only bring him more trouble. Around midnight, she sat at her kitchen table and began to write a letter. Her tears smudged the paper, but she kept going. My dear Owen, when I met you that day in the lobby, you were sad and scared. I just wanted to help, and I ended up receiving the greatest gift of my life, your friendship and your affection. Now I have to leave for a while. Some bad people are saying things about me that aren't true, and until I can prove their lies, I can't be near you or your dad. But I want you to know something. You are the most special child in the world. You're brave, smart, funny, and you have the biggest heart I've ever known. Never let anyone make you believe otherwise. Take care of your dad. He loves you more than anything in the world. And always remember, even from far away, I'll be cheering for you and sending invisible bubbles through the wind. With all my love, Lily, P.S. The drawing you made for me is right here with me. I'm taking it wherever I go. She folded the letter, placed it in an envelope, and wrote for Owen on the front. Then she began to pack her things. By sunrise, Lily Carter had vanished from Chicago, leaving behind only the letter and a broken heart. And in his penthouse, Nathaniel woke Owen to give him the hardest news of his life. Lily was gone, and they didn't know when she'd be back. 3 weeks. 21 days since Lily had disappeared, and Nathaniel felt like he was living on autopilot. He had hired the best private investigators in Chicago, and they quickly discovered that the forged documents had been created using Richard Mason's computer. The board chairman had been forced to resign, but the damage was already done. Lily had vanished without a trace. Owen barely ate, barely spoke, and spent hours sitting by his bedroom window as if hoping to see her walking down the street below. Nathaniel tried to comfort him, but how do you comfort a child when you're just as broken yourself? On Thursday morning, Nathaniel was in a virtual meeting with Japanese investors when his assistant, Sarah, quietly stepped into the room. Mr. Blake, I'm sorry to interrupt, but this is urgent. Sarah, I'm in an international meeting. I found her, she said simply. Nathaniel nearly dropped his coffee cup. What? Lily? I found her. She's volunteering at a public school in Detroit. One of the investigators we hired tracked her through volunteer records. Nathaniel looked at the screen where 12 Japanese executives were waiting for him to finalize a $50 million deal. Gentlemen, he said in English. Then turned to Sarah and added in Portuguese, please translate this. I need to reschedule our meeting. A family emergency has come up. But Mr. Blake, one of the executives protested, we've been working on this contract for months, and will continue. But right now, I can't. Thank you for understanding. He closed the laptop and stood up. Sarah, get the jet ready. We're going to Detroit now. And Owen? Owen's coming with us. Actually, Nathaniel smiled for the first time in weeks. I have a feeling he'll want to be there when I make the most important pitch of my life. Lincoln Elementary School was in a modest Detroit neighborhood, a red brick building surrounded by a simple but well-kept playground. Nathaniel parked the rental car outside and looked at Owen in the back seat. "Ready, champ?" Owen was holding a small canvas wrapped in gift paper, something he had made over the past few weeks. "Ready, Dad. But what if she doesn't want to see us? Then we'll keep trying until she changes her mind." They walked into the school, following the sound of children's laughter down the hall to a classroom at the end. Through the small window in the door, Nathaniel saw Lily sitting on the floor, surrounded by about 15 children of different ages. She was helping them paint, and her face had a peaceful expression he hadn't seen in a long time. She wore an old t-shirt stained with paint, her hair was in a messy bun, and she was smiling as a little girl proudly showed her a colorful drawing of a house. "That's her," Owen whispered excitedly. Nathaniel gently knocked on the door. Lily looked up and froze when she saw them. Her cheeks turned red, and she stood up quickly. "Sorry, kids, we have visitors," she said, trying to keep her voice steady. "Hi, everyone," Nathaniel said as he stepped into the room. "I'm Nathaniel, and this is Owen. We came to speak with Miss Lily." "Are you Miss Lily's boyfriend?" asked a boy of about 7, as direct as only children can be. Nathaniel looked at Lily, who seemed like she wanted the floor to swallow her up. "Well, it's complicated," he replied. "Oh, like my parents," a little girl said. "They're complicated too." The children laughed, and even Lily gave a small smile. "Lily, I need to talk to you," Nathaniel said, stepping into the middle of the room. "I want to do it in front of everyone, because I want these kids to be witnesses to what I'm about to say." "Nathaniel, that's not necessary." "Yes, it is," he said, kneeling right in the center of the circle of children. "Lily Carter, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I didn't fight harder for you, that I let awful people hurt you, that I didn't run after you the day you left." The children watched quietly, some with their mouths hanging open. "You don't have to kneel," Lily said softly, clearly uncomfortable. "Yes, I do. Because this is how you give a real apology. And because I want these children to see how a man should treat the woman he loves." A chorus of ahs echoed around the room. "Nathaniel, Lily, I found out who forged the documents. Richard was arrested yesterday. Your name is completely cleared. The foundation is waiting for you. Owen is waiting for you, and I'm right here, on my knees, asking for a second chance." Owen stepped forward, holding out a wrapped gift. "Lily, I made this for you, to show that we're a family." Lily took the gift with trembling hands and slowly unwrapped it. It was a small painted canvas with 3 colorful bubbles floating, one blue, one red, and one yellow. "The blue one is you," Owen explained, "because you're calm and make us feel safe. The red is Dad, because he's strong and brave. And the yellow is me, because you said yellow is the color of joy." Tears rolled down Lily's cheeks as she looked at the painting. "And the 3 bubbles are together," Owen added. "Because bubbles pop easily when they're alone, but when they're together, they stay strong." "Owen," Lily's voice cracked. "That's beautiful. It's perfect. So will you come back home with us?" he asked hopefully. Lily looked at Nathaniel, still kneeling, then at Owen, then at the children watching her with hopeful eyes. "I'll come back," she said at last, "but on one condition." "Anything," Nathaniel said immediately. "I want these kids to be part of the Foundation's project too. They've taught me so much about courage and hope these past few weeks." "Done," Nathaniel said, standing up. "The first Little Hearts branch will be right here in Detroit." The children burst into cheers and applause. Owen ran into Lily's arms, and she lifted him in a tight hug. "I missed you," she whispered in his ear. "I missed you too. The house was way too quiet without you." Nathaniel joined them, wrapping his arms around both. "Never again," he whispered. "We're never going to be apart again." And right there, in a simple classroom in Detroit, surrounded by joyful children, the 3 of them knew they were finally in the right place. Home. Together. For good. 6 months after that day in Detroit, the Grand Hall of the Palmer House Hotel had been transformed into a colorful, vibrant celebration. Pastel balloons decorated the tables, children's drawings covered the walls, and laughter filled the elegant space in a way it never had before. The official launch of the Little Hearts Foundation had brought together more than 300 guests, investors, educators, families, journalists, and most importantly 50 children from different backgrounds who would be the first to benefit from the project. Backstage, Lily adjusted the navy blue blazer for the 10th time, the one Nathaniel insisted she wear. Her hands trembled slightly as she mentally reviewed the speech she had prepared. "Nervous?" Nathaniel asked, appearing beside her. "Terrified," she admitted. "I've never spoken in front of so many important people before." "You've already spoken to the most important person of all," he said, pointing to Owen, who was playing with other kids near the stage. "If you could win over a 7-year-old with anxiety, you can win over any audience." Lily smiled, some of the tension melting away. "How are things out there?" "Better than we hoped. The mayor's here, 3 state education secretaries, and all the major media are covering it. Oh, and the school director from Detroit just arrived with 10 of the kids he taught there." "Really?" Lily's eyes lit up. "They actually came?" "They're all in the front row, wearing t-shirts they painted themselves, with colorful bubbles." Lily's eyes welled with tears. "Nathaniel, what if I forget everything? What if I mess up? What if—" He placed his hands gently on her shoulders, guiding her to look into his eyes. "Lily Carter, you go out there and speak from the heart, like you always do, and it'll be perfect, just like you always are." Before she could respond, Sarah appeared with a headset. "Lily, it's time. The audience is waiting." Lily took a deep breath, gave Nathaniel a quick kiss on the cheek, and walked toward the stage. When she stepped onto the platform and saw all those eyes on her, for a moment she thought she might faint. Then her gaze found Owen in the front row, giving her a big thumbs up. Next to him, the kids from Detroit smiled and waved. In the second row, she spotted parents holding children with special needs, teachers who had driven hours to be there, and therapists with hopeful expressions. "Good afternoon," she began, her voice still a little shaky. "My name is Lily Carter, and a year ago, I was cleaning bathrooms in this very hotel." A murmur ran through the audience. Nathaniel, watching from a corner of the room, smiled. Classic Lily, always starting with raw honesty. "I'm not here today because I have impressive degrees or years of experience in special education. I'm here because one day, a little boy was having an emotional meltdown in a building lobby, and I did the only thing I knew how to do. I sat on the floor and blew bubbles." The children in the audience giggled, recognizing the simplicity of the gesture. The Little Hearts Foundation was born from that experience, from the discovery that sometimes, to help a child, we don't need complex techniques or expensive equipment. We just need to be present. We need to see every child as unique, special, and capable. Lily glanced at her notes but realized she didn't need them. The words flowed naturally. Our children, and when I say our, I mean every child we meet along the way, don't need to be fixed. They need to be understood. They don't need to be over-medicated. They need to be embraced. They don't need to fit a mold. They need to be celebrated. The room had gone completely silent, every ear tuned to her voice. The Little Hearts Foundation will work with 3 pillars: emotional support centers in public schools, training educators to recognize and welcome differences, and developing affordable assistive technologies. But our main goal is simple. We want every child to feel seen, heard, and loved. Applause began to ripple through the hall. "I lost a child," Lily continued, her voice breaking but steady. "And for a long time, I thought I would never be able to love another child without fearing I'd lose them. But Owen Blake taught me that love isn't about possession or control. It's about presence. It's about being there, with soap bubbles if necessary, when the world feels too big for a little heart." Nathaniel discreetly wiped away a tear, too proud to care who noticed. "So today, we're not just launching a foundation. We're starting a quiet revolution. A revolution that says every child matters, that every difference is a gift, that every little heart deserves a gentle world." The standing ovation was immediate and thunderous. People rose to their feet, clapping, some discreetly wiping their own tears. The Detroit kids cheered, Miss Lily, and clapped with excitement. Lily thanked everyone, stepped off the stage, and was immediately surrounded by people wanting to congratulate her, ask questions, and offer support for the project. But in the middle of the crowd, she saw Owen making his way toward her with purpose. "Excuse me," he said politely to the adults around her. I need to talk to Lily. The crowd smiled and stepped aside, letting the boy through. Owen, did you hear my speech? I did. It was beautiful. But now I have a very important question. Of course, champ. What is it? Owen glanced around, saw he had everyone's attention, grabbed the microphone still on the stage stand, and climbed onto a chair. Hi, everybody. His voice echoed through the hall. I'm Owen Blake, and this is Lily. Loving laughter filled the room. A year ago, my mom went to heaven in an accident, and I was really sad for a long time. But then Lily came with her magic bubbles and taught me that you can feel sad and happy at the same time. The hall went completely silent. Owen turned toward where Nathaniel was standing, then back to Lily. Dad, he said into the microphone, looking straight at his father. Can I call her Mom now? The whole room seemed to hold its breath. Lily covered her mouth with her hands, tears streaming freely. Nathaniel walked to the stage, his eyes shining with emotion. Owen, he said, taking the microphone, that's a decision you need to make with Lily. Owen turned to her. Lily, will you be my heart mom? Lily knelt to his level, barely able to speak through her tears. Yes, sweetheart, it would be the greatest honor of my life. Owen dropped the microphone and ran into her arms. The room erupted into cheers, applause, and joyful tears. And there, in the middle of hundreds of people, but feeling like it was just the three of them in the world, the family that had come together through soap bubbles and broken hearts was finally complete. 2 weeks after the foundation's launch, Lily was going over the final details of the support centers when Nathaniel walked into her office with a strange look on his face. Lily, I need to show you something, he said, looking slightly nervous. Right now, I'm reviewing the contracts for the Detroit therapists, and it's important, and it'll be quick, I promise. Lily looked at him, suspicious. Nathaniel rarely interrupted her work without a serious reason. Okay, but if this is about the budget, I'm warning you. I'm not cutting the art supplies. It's not about the budget, he said with a smile, holding out his hand. Come with me. They walked through the halls of Blake Tech, but instead of going up to the executive floors, Nathaniel led her down toward the basement. Nathaniel, where are we going? Lily asked as they went down the service stairs. You'll see. When they reached the lowest floor, Lily recognized the place right away. The supply room where she had worked for 3 months before meeting Owen. Why did you bring me here? Because this is where it all started, Nathaniel said, opening the door to the little closet where she used to store her cleaning supplies. This bottle of dish soap is where you got the bubbles that changed our lives. Lily stepped into the tiny room, remembering those early days. The tight uniform, her hands raw from cleaning chemicals, the loneliness of those early mornings scrubbing bathrooms while dreaming of a different life. Nathaniel, this is kind of morbid. Why do you want me to remember that time? Because I want you to see how far we've come, he said, closing the door behind them. From a lonely janitor and a bitter CEO, we became a family, and it all started right here. Lily looked around the room, which now looked different. Someone had decorated it with tiny LED lights, giving the cramped space an almost magical feel. On the floor, rose petals formed a path to the back of the room. Nathaniel, what is this? Lily Carter. He stepped closer, his eyes shining in the soft light. A year ago you told me you didn't need titles. That being Owen's heart mom was enough. And it is, she said, beginning to realize where this was going. It might be enough for you, but it's not enough for me. Nathaniel knelt on the floor of the small room, right where she used to keep her mop and bucket. Lily covered her mouth with her hands, tears already starting to form. I want everyone to know you're my wife. I want Owen to have a birth certificate with your name as his mom. I want to grow old by your side and tell our grandkids how the most extraordinary woman in the world won me over with soap bubbles. He pulled a small blue velvet box from his jacket pocket. Lily Carter, will you marry me? And before you answer, just know that if you say no, I'll stay here on my knee until you change your mind. Owen already gave me permission to camp out in this room as long as it takes. Lily looked at the box, then at Nathaniel's face, then at the lights glowing around them. Nathaniel Blake, she said, her voice trembling. You are completely out of your mind. Who proposes in a supply closet? Someone who wants to show the woman he loves that it doesn't matter where we are, as long as we're together." That was ridiculously romantic, she laughed through tears. And bang! The door flew open with a loud noise, and something big and round tried to squeeze through the opening. "Can I come in?" came a muffled voice from inside the round thing. Lily and Nathaniel looked at each other, confused. "Owen," Nathaniel called out. "Yes, it's me, but I'm having a little technical problem here." The round thing finally made it through the doorway, and they saw that it was Owen, wearing a giant bubble costume made from clear inflatable plastic. He could barely move inside it, and his little arms barely reached the sides. "Owen," Lily exclaimed, trying not to laugh. "What are you doing here, and what is that outfit?" "Margaret helped me make it," he said, spinning awkwardly inside the costume. "It's a real bubble. I thought it would be cool to show up at Dad's proposal dressed as a bubble, since you guys met because of bubbles." "How did you know about the proposal?" Nathaniel asked, still kneeling. "Sarah told me, and I wanted to be part of it." Owen tried to walk, but stumbled, rolling like a ball across the small room. "Oops, Houston, we have a problem." Lily burst out laughing, a real heartfelt laugh that echoed through the room. Nathaniel started laughing too, watching their son rolling around like a giant human bubble. "Owen, are you okay in there?" Lily asked, trying to help him up. "I'm great, a little dizzy, but great. So, Lily, are you going to marry Dad or not? Because these rose petals are tickling my nose and I think I'm going to sneeze." Lily looked at Nathaniel, still on one knee with the ring box in hand, then back at Owen, who looked like a walking soap bubble, and realized this was exactly the kind of crazy family she'd always wanted. "Nathaniel Blake," she said, extending her left hand. "Yes, I'll marry you, but only if Owen promises to wear that costume at the wedding." "Really?" Owen shouted, trying to jump for joy and nearly falling again. "Really?" Nathaniel laughed, sliding the ring onto her finger. It was a simple solitaire with 3 tiny stones beside the diamond, 1 blue, 1 red, and 1 yellow. "The 3 bubbles," Lily whispered, recognizing the reference to Owen's painting. "Our family," Nathaniel said, standing up to kiss her. Wait, Owen interrupted. "Family hug first. Come here." They moved toward him, doing their best to hug the giant inflatable bubble. Owen pulled them both inside the costume, creating the strangest and most perfect group hug ever. "Now it's official," Owen said, pleased. "We're the craziest family in Chicago." 6 months after the most unusual proposal in Chicago, the garden of the Little Hearts Foundation had been turned into a dream come true. Not the kind of dream you see in fancy wedding magazines, but the kind a 7-year-old would imagine if they got to plan their parents' perfect wedding. White chairs were set in a half circle around a simple altar made from wildflower arches. But what made everything special were the personal touches. Hundreds of glass jars hanging from trees, each filled with a different bubble mix. Balloons floated in groups of 3, always blue, red, and yellow. And instead of petals in the aisle, little bubble bottles were scattered all along the path. "Nathaniel, stop messing with your tie," said Sarah, now promoted to official wedding planner. "It's perfect." "What if she changes her mind?" he murmured, glancing toward the garden gate for the 10th time. "What if she realizes she could do better than a nervous CEO with a kid who collects bubble costumes?" "Dad," Owen said, suddenly appearing at his side, wearing a tiny tuxedo and carrying the most important accessory of the day, a special belt holding 12 different bottles of bubble mix. "Lily's not going to run," she promised, and Lily always keeps her promises. "You're right, champ. Ready to be the official bubble bearer?" "Born ready." Owen tested 1 bottle, blowing a perfect bubble that floated over the guests' chairs. The 100 guests were a one-of-a-kind mix you'd only see at Lily and Nathaniel's wedding. Executives from Blake Tech sat next to school kids from Detroit who had traveled just to be there. Margaret, the housekeeper, was seated beside Tom, the doorman from Lily's building. Families helped by the foundation filled the front rows, and some of the kids were already playing quietly with the bubble bottles on the lawn. The music began, not the traditional wedding march, but Somewhere Over the Rainbow, played by a string quartet. It was the lullaby Lily used to hum to Owen when he had nightmares. Everyone turned toward the garden gate, and there she was. Lily Carter walked down the aisle wearing a simple knee-length white crepe dress with 3/4 sleeves and a modest neckline. No veil, no long train. But what made everyone smile were her shoes, white canvas sneakers with colorful laces hand-painted by Owen himself. She held a small bouquet of white daisies tied with blue, red, and yellow ribbons. But what stood out the most was the bright smile on her face as she made her way down the aisle, stopping now and then to blow bubbles from the jars along the path. "Oh my goodness," whispered one of the foundation moms. "She looks beautiful." "And completely herself," added another, clearly moved. Nathaniel felt his eyes well up as he watched her walk toward him. It wasn't the dress or the setting that got to him, it was how effortlessly Lily turned every moment into something special and true. When she reached the altar, Owen ran to hug her. "Lily, you really came." "Of course I did, sweetheart. I wouldn't miss this for anything in the world." The judge, a kind man who had become a family friend during Owen's adoption process, smiled at the scene. "Friends, family, and bubbles," he began, earning laughter from the guests. "We're here today to celebrate not only the union of Nathaniel and Lily, but the official creation of a family that already existed in their hearts long before it existed on paper." Lily and Nathaniel faced each other, hands intertwined. Owen stood between them, occasionally blowing a bubble that floated over their heads. "Nathaniel," the judge said, "would you like to read your vows?" Nathaniel pulled a piece of paper from his pocket, then folded it again. "Lily," he said, looking straight into her eyes. "A year ago, I was a man who had forgotten how to smile. You taught me that sometimes the simplest solutions are the most powerful, that a bottle of dish soap can hold magic, that love isn't about having all the answers, but about being present when you don't know what to do." He took a deep breath. "I promise to be present, on bubble days and on stormy days. I promise to listen more than I speak, and I promise to never, ever underestimate the power of a simple solution to a complicated problem." Lily smiled, tears streaming freely. "Nathaniel Blake," she said, "you gave me something I thought I had lost forever, a family. Owen gave me back the ability to love without fear. And you showed me that it's possible to build something beautiful on the ruins of broken hearts." She looked at Owen, then back at Nathaniel. "I promise to be the mother Owen deserves and the partner you need. I promise that our home will always have laughter, even on the hard days. And I promise there will always be soap bubbles in the kitchen drawer, because magic can hide in the simplest places." "The rings?" the judge asked. Owen walked forward solemnly, pulling 2 simple gold bands from his pocket. But before handing them over, he blew a giant bubble that floated above Nathaniel and Lily's hands. "Make a wish," he whispered. They both closed their eyes for a moment, then opened them and smiled at each other. "Now you can have them," Owen said, handing over the rings. They exchanged rings as small bubbles floated around them, blown by guests who couldn't resist the bottles scattered around the garden. "In the name of love, family, and magic bubbles," the judge said with a wide grin, "I now pronounce you husband and wife. Nathaniel, you may kiss the bride." The moment Nathaniel kissed Lily, Owen ran to the side of the altar and grabbed a special bottle he had hidden behind the flowers. It was a mixture he had made himself, with colors that created huge, iridescent bubbles. He blew with all his might, forming a bubble the size of a basketball that floated slowly over the couple's heads. It hovered there for a magical moment, reflecting all the smiles around, the colors of the garden, and the joy of the day. Then Owen jumped and popped the bubble with his fingertip. Pop! The sound echoed in the quiet garden for a split second before being replaced by laughter, applause, and cheers. Children ran for the bubble bottles, adults stood clapping, and the garden filled with hundreds of tiny bubbles floating in every direction. Nathaniel and Lily hugged, laughing as Owen danced around them, blowing bubbles everywhere. "We did it," Lily whispered in Nathaniel's ear. "Did what?" "We found our home." Nathaniel looked around, at Owen, glowing with happiness, at the guests laughing and playing with bubbles, at the foundation's garden they had built together, and at the woman in his arms who had changed their lives with one simple act of kindness. "Yes," he said, kissing her again as more bubbles floated around them. "We finally found our home." And as the sun set over Chicago, painting the sky in the same colors as Owen's bubbles, blue, red, and yellow, the family born on the marble floor of a corporate building celebrated not just a wedding, but the discovery that true love can bloom in the most unexpected places. What did you think of Lily and Nathaniel's story? Leave your thoughts in the comments. From 0 to 10, what rating would you give it? Subscribe to the channel and hit the bell to follow all our stories, and check out more emotional stories by clicking here on the final screen.